There are moments when we believe we are choosing logically, when we feel certain that our decisions are the product of clear thought and deliberate reasoning. And yet, later, we look back and realize something else was in control. Something quieter, something faster, something we barely noticed. Why does this happen? The truth is simple. Humans are not rational beings. We are emotional beings who use logic to explain what we have already decided. Before your conscious mind even forms a sentence, your emotional system has already taken action. It reacts instantly, detecting threat, meaning, value, danger, relief, long before your rational mind begins its slow commentary. Neuroscience describes this through two systems working in parallel. The first is the emotional system, fast, automatic, deeply tied to survival. It doesn't analyze, it reacts. The second is the rational system, slower, reflective, deliberate. It doesn't decide first. It arrives late and explains afterward. This is why so many choices feel intuitively right, even when they contradict our goals, values, or logic. You know a habit is damaging. You know it clearly. The evidence is undeniable, and yet you repeat it. This is not a failure of discipline. It is the presence of emotional reinforcement. Habits survive not because we want them logically, but because they offer emotional relief, comfort, predictability, or the feeling of familiarity. Emotional reward almost always defeats logical reasoning. The same pattern appears in relationships. People often stay in situations that hurt them, not because the situation makes sense, but because the emotional system values stability over happiness, familiarity over growth, attachment over autonomy. The emotional system seeks safety, even when that safety is painful. Another core concept is emotional salience, the degree to which something captures your attention because of its emotional weight. A single negative comment can overshadow 10 positive ones. A slight change in someone's expression can shift your entire emotional state. A moment of conflict can erase all logic. Emotion dictates importance. Importance shapes attention. Attention directs behavior. The paradox is that we still believe we are logical. We imagine ourselves reasoning through decisions, constructing arguments, evaluating possibilities. But psychology consistently shows we decide emotionally, and then we rationalize those decisions afterward. This process is called post hoc rationalization, meaning the explanation comes after the choice, not before. For example, you buy something you didn't need. The impulse was emotional, maybe boredom, a desire for comfort, or a need to feel valued. But afterward, your rational mind generates justifications. It was a good deal. It was worth the investment. I needed it anyway. The explanations are not lies. They are attempts to protect your sense of coherence, the feeling that your actions make sense. When emotional decisions contradict the story you have about yourself, you experience cognitive dissonance, the uncomfortable tension between what you do and who you believe you are. To reduce that tension, the mind changes the story, not the behavior. This is why emotional decisions can be so hard to detect. Emotions are felt physically, as tightness, pressure, warmth, restlessness, yet the cause behind the feeling often remains invisible. You feel the reaction, but not the origin. And in that invisible space, the rational mind steps in and creates a narrative that feels true but is rarely accurate. Recognizing emotional decisions begins with noticing these subtle moments, the sudden sense of urgency, the need to explain yourself, the physical cues that appear before the thought, and the fear of certain outcomes that quietly shapes your choices. These are not weaknesses, they are signs that your emotional system is active and trying to protect you in its own way. Understanding these signs is the first step toward changing how you respond to them. Recognizing emotional decisions is only the beginning. Changing the patterns behind them requires something different. Not force, not discipline, but awareness. The first step is simple but powerful. Step 1. Slow the decision. Down emotions are fast. They push, they urge. They create the feeling that something must be done immediately, but this urgency is rarely real. Use the 3-minute rule. 1. Don't react. 2. Wait 3 minutes. 3. Pay attention to the physical sensation. In many cases, the emotion softens within that time. And when the emotional wave weakens, the logic that felt distant becomes visible again. Slowing down doesn't eliminate emotion. It gives you space to see it. Step 2. Name the emotion. Naming an emotion reduces its intensity. This is not metaphorical, it's a measurable psychological effect. Instead of thinking, I don't know what's happening, try saying internally, this is fear, this is longing, this is avoidance, this is pressure, Naming brings the feeling into the light, and what is seen clearly loses its power to control you unconsciously. Step 3. Separate desire from habit. Many decisions that feel like wants are really automated emotional routines. Ask yourself, would I make this choice if no one knew about it? Would I make it if fear were not involved? If either answer changes, the decision isn't rooted in genuine desire. It's rooted in habit, conditioning, or emotional compensation. Awareness breaks the illusion of choice. It shows you what is truly yours and what is simply familiar. Step 4. Treat the body signal as data, not commands. Emotion shows up before logic. It appears in the body. The tightening of the chest, the drop in the stomach, the tension in the jaw, the restlessness in the hands, the sudden silence or rush in the mind. These sensations feel like instructions, but they aren't. They are data, information about how your system is interpreting a situation. When you stop mistaking data for directives, you gain the ability to choose consciously. Step 5. Make inner conflicts. Explicit emotional decisions often come from inner contradictions. The desire for safety versus the desire for freedom. The need for connection versus the need for self-protection. The pull toward comfort versus the pull toward growth. The longing for belonging versus the fear of losing yourself. As long as these conflicts remain unspoken, they determine your behavior from the shadows. But when you name them, when you say, I want this, but I also fear this, the conflict becomes something you can work with, not something that silently shapes your choices. Clarity dissolves confusion, and dissolved confusion makes space for intention. The essential truth: humans are not logical. They are story-bound. We act with emotion, we explain with logic, and between these two forces, we create stories that allow us to feel coherent, even when our behavior contradicts our beliefs. This doesn't make us flawed, it makes us human. Psychological maturity is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to recognize emotion as it happens and to decide what role it plays in your actions. Emotions will always move faster than thoughts. They will always color what you perceive and influence what you choose. But when you understand their mechanisms, how they arise, how they distort, and how they drive your narrative, you are no longer controlled by them in the dark. You begin to act with awareness, with intention, with a clearer sense of what is truly yours and what is merely inherited, conditioned, or automated. Closing emotions. Decide long before logic speaks. They guide attention, they determine priority, they define meaning. But once you see how they operate, you gain the ability to work with them instead of being moved by them unconsciously. Understanding your emotional patterns doesn't make you perfect, it makes you conscious. And consciousness is the foundation of every meaningful change. If you want to learn more about human behavior, the psychology behind your choices, and the hidden mechanisms that shape your inner world, subscribe to this channel. Here, the goal is not motivation, not self-optimization, but clarity. Quiet, honest clarity about why we do what we do, even when it makes no sense at all.